J.D Vance is going to places he's not wanted. First, he joined Blue Sky, and he's been posting there as if anyone cares about what he says. Blue Sky, if you don't know, is a liberal social media site that's sort of like X, but without Nazis. Well, I guess we have J.D Vance there now. I'm not saying he's a Nazi. I'm just saying. J.D Vance posted yesterday, "I've got an exciting announcement about my political future," and he has a picture of a Trump 2028 hat on and looking like a rotted potato. He's also going to Pennsylvania. J.D Vance is going to Pennsylvania to tout. They're taking out the big guns to announce Donald Trump's big, beautiful bill that got signed. The vice president will travel to West Pittston in Luzerne County, where he will hold a rally-style event at a manufacturing facility. The trip marks one of the Trump administration's first concerted efforts to tout the bill since Trump signed it last week. And the president has made it clear he plans to aggressively message the bill's advantages to voters in the coming months. What advantages? It's taking away Medicaid. It's making lives for most Americans harder to give a small amount of money to the very, very wealthy who do not need it. Well, and notably, a Pennsylvania Congressman, Representative Brian Fitzpatrick, a Republican from Pennsylvania, voted against this. So I'm very excited to talk to Lieutenant Governor Austin Davis about this and so much more. LG, Austin Davis, thank you so much for being here. I'm sorry it's over these circumstances, which is J.D. Vance is invading Pennsylvania. And he, I am told, is going to actually promote the one big, beautiful bill. I don't know what they're promoting. What do you like? I even heard that one of the Republican congressional representatives voted against this thing, yet he's still going to Pennsylvania. What do you think he's doing going to Pennsylvania when he could go anywhere?
Well, look, I think we like to call it the one big ugly bill here in Pennsylvania because it is going to be devastating for hardworking Pennsylvanians. It's going to kick 300,000 Pennsylvanians off of Medicaid, nearly take food out of the mouths of 150,000 vulnerable Pennsylvanians by cutting food access. And it's going to put in danger 25 rural hospitals that are struggling to survive here in the Commonwealth. And I think it's telling that J.D. Vance is coming to Pennsylvania to really do damage control. Because Pennsylvanians know how devastating this bill is going to be for our Commonwealth. And so he's coming here to literally put lipstick on a pig. And to add insult to injury, he is going to a district for a member of Congress who said that it was his red line that he would not cut Medicaid. He said that to everyday Pennsylvanians in his district. He said it directly to the governor and I. And then he went to Washington, D.C., and unfortunately folded and chose to vote with special interests against the people that he was elected to represent and serve. And so I think they're doing damage control, and I think he's trying to provide some backup to that member of Congress who put up that vote that literally turned his back on the people he was elected to represent.
It's insane. They ran on not touching Medicaid. And they're doing just that. And J.D. Vance was actually the deciding vote in this thing getting passed, which is incredible. What do you want people to know about Pennsylvanians and their response to this bill? Because overall, I know in the country is not a fan of this bill when they hear about what's actually in it and what it's going to do. Is that the same in Pennsylvania?
Absolutely. I think Pennsylvanians are clear-eyed that J.D. Vance and Donald Trump literally stole from the poor to give to the wealthiest Americans, to give them a tax break. And, it's extremely disappointing because J.D. Vance and I come from similar communities. I grew up in a working class community in southwestern Pennsylvania. I'm the proud son of a union bus driver and a hairdresser. Literally, my dad is driving a Pittsburgh Regional Transit bus today. And somewhere along the line, J.D. Vance forgot that he went to Washington to fight for working class people. And he's been fighting for billionaires and the top 1% since now that he's hanging out with Donald Trump in the White House. And I think Pennsylvanians are smarter than that. I think they know who is fighting for them. And I think they know that this bill is wrong for them, their families, and their communities.
I come from a lower class background as well. My mom was a bill collector. My dad was he worked in a car manufacturing plant on the assembly line, and so I get it. But they are both originally from Michigan, a swing state, and my mom actually lives in Pennsylvania now. Funny enough, and but they're very, very MAGA. So what is the disconnect there between the working class voting for a party that doesn't have their interests at heart, but they still somehow feel connected to it?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, look, I think people want elected officials who are going to shake up the status quo and who are going to center the things that they care about that is important to them and their families and their communities, like bringing costs down, like making sure we're creating ladders of opportunities for folks to succeed. Unfortunately, Donald Trump ran for office promising that he was going to lower costs. And everything that he's done since he's been in office has been to jack up costs on working class Pennsylvanians and working class Americans, from this bill that he passed where he gives a tax break to the wealthiest Americans, to the tariff war that he has started that is jacking up the price on consumer goods and has Americans and Pennsylvanians paying more for everything. And so I think people want leaders who are going to put forward a different vision that centers them and their families. And unfortunately, they got Donald Trump, who's just looking out for the wealthiest 1%. But I think it's incumbent upon us as Democrats to put a bold vision forward about how we're going to reduce costs, about how we are going to make government get things done for working families. And I think that's what Governor Shapiro and I have been laser focused on in our time in office, from creating more economic development to investing the largest amount of funding in our public school system to make sure young people have every opportunity to succeed, to investing in workforce development projects, investing in main streets to revitalize our communities. I think, this is a moment where we're required to have bold leadership. And I think we have been exemplifying that. And we're trying to move not just the populace at large, but Democrats to a position where we are speaking to the concerns of everyday Americans.
Yeah, I mean, I hear you, and I know that it's a large mountain to climb, because though Donald Trump is very unpopular, the Democratic Party is even more unpopular than Donald Trump, which is insane to me as someone who is a Democrat, and I think we have a lot to offer to the country. But what do you think it is about the Democratic brand that is so unappealing to the electorate?
Look, I think people vote for candidates. I think people, don't necessarily think about voting for Democrat or Republican. I think they vote for the candidates that are presenting a vision for the future. And I think Democrats writ large have to do a better job at presenting a vision that's going to answer the concerns of everyday Americans, from dealing with affordability to dealing with economic opportunity to dealing with making sure folks have ladders of opportunity to succeed. Look, we are having a housing crisis in this country. We are having a generation of folks who are working hard and playing by the rules and discovering that they can't afford to own a home, discovering that they may be worse off than their parents' generation. Until we begin to deal with that, till we begin to say that we have a plan and a vision for these people to live the American dream, whatever that looks like, we have to do more than just be opposed to Donald Trump. And I think we have laid a good example of that here in Pennsylvania in the work that Governor Shapiro and I have been doing.
Yeah, I mean, I'm 40. I don't know when I'm going to own a home, if ever. My dad does not own a home. My mom does own her home, but it's most people in my family actually do not own property. That used to be one of the things that was a sign of, just middle class success, was owning your home. That we just seem to have let that slip away, and I do think that we as Democrats really should be fighting for these things that have kind of been taken away from average Americans, whether it be the opportunity to own a home or affordable health care, which this bill also attacks, or just being able to get your child a good education, which is much more expensive. And they're now just attacking the Department of Education as well.
One of the things that I have been championing here in Pennsylvania is the work that Governor Shapiro and I have done around childcare. We've proposed more money for retention and recruitment bonuses for childcare workers. We've delivered an expansion of the childcare tax credit for working families. My wife and I are young parents. We have a daughter who's going to be 2 here very soon. And we recognize that this is a huge burden that most Americans are struggling with, particularly young Americans with young families. When your childcare bill is more expensive than your mortgage, that's a challenge. That's a problem. And we have real work to do. And I think if Democrats remain focused on those issues and focused on solving those problems, we will win elections.
Yeah, and I know that J.D. Vance is a big proponent in, families, growing families, expanding the amount of kids that each family has. But then he also then supports legislation like this that actually makes it harder to have a family in this country.
Absolutely. Look, he supports tax breaks for the wealthiest Americans, literally screws the poorest Americans. And then he's shocked that people can't afford to own a home, can't afford to have a growing family, and can't afford to live the American dream. And I don't think that's what Pennsylvanians or Americans are looking for in their leaders.
Now, I just want to quickly mention that there was a New York Times piece that came out last week about this new group called Majority Democrats. When I heard about this, I was so excited. I want you to explain it better than I can, but I'll briefly say it. It's basically a group of Democrats elected from local all the way up to federal who are saying, hey, the establishment has kind of messed up. They've messed up. They got us to this place. We've got to do something differently. Is that right?
Absolutely. And I'm really proud to be a founding member of Majority Democrats, to say that, look, we have to be a party that appeals to the vast majority of Americans, to make sure that we are putting forward a bold vision that deals with the challenges that people are having every single day, but also elevates bold leaders at all levels of government, from city council to state legislature to U.S. Congress, a new generation of leaders who can move our party forward. I'm so proud to be a part of this group with other leaders who have proven that they know how to win in tough environments, who've proven that they have a vision to lead. Look, myself, I'm proud to be Pennsylvania's first Black lieutenant governor. But when I got elected to the state house, I was the first African-American to ever represent my district in southwestern Pennsylvania, a working class, majority white community, because I grew up in that community. I understand the challenges that folks who live there face. And so I went to Harrisburg to fight for them. And when I ran for lieutenant governor, I won a 3-way primary, winning all 67 counties in Pennsylvania and winning more votes than any other Democrat on the ballot in that primary, and joining Josh Shapiro to go on to win the election, because it's going to take fresh leaders with a bold vision to move our communities forward. And that's what Majority Democrats is focused on.
Well, I think the time is right for this sort of thing. I know that people watching right now are hungry for elected officials to shake things up. We got to shake things up. The fact that we lost to Donald Trump, one of the least qualified people to ever run for president twice, is not okay. So, so I'm very excited about Majority Democrats.
It is not okay. And I think, the beginning starts now. And I will say, everybody focuses on the presidential election. We have to be focused on every election, from school board up to president, because, there are the issues that impact people every single day start at the local level. And so Democrats need to have a vision for both Main Street and for the country writ large. And that's how we'll win elections.
Well, thank you so much for coming on. I hope you come on again. And thank you for all the great work you're doing in Pennsylvania. And I know it's going to make a big difference.
Thanks. I look forward to coming back soon.
Thanks.